Speaking of moving parts, so Le'Veon Bell, boy, what a saga we have here. I want to do the viewers some. Oh, excuse me. I want to give the viewers some context. So, if we remember, Le'Veon Bell was an All-Pro running back with the Pittsburgh Steelers, arguably the best running back in the league. He was the Steelers' number 2 receiver behind Antonio Brown, and wanted to be compensated because of that. Well, um, 2017 had an amazing season. 2018, he sat out. He determined. He said, "You know what? I'm going to sit the season out. I'm not going to play on a second franchise tag, and I'm going to bet on myself that in 2019 I'm going to get a more fair, or at least a more lucrative contract offer from another team." Fast forward, he gets that deal with the Jets, but
It's pretty much the same as what he would have got if he would have stayed in Pittsburgh, though.
well,
It's not
that
that significantly better.
it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Well, from a financial standpoint, it wasn't significantly better. I do agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then he went to the Jets organization, and as you, I, and many other sports fans know, the Jets aren't exactly the most well-run organization. So the Jets give Le'Veon Bell a 4-year, $52 million contract. Unfortunately, they then fire the GM who lorded over the draft and gave Le'Veon Bell the said contract. Head coach Adam Gase, it turns out he didn't really want Le'Veon Bell there, or at least he didn't want Le'Veon Bell for that amount of money. There were critiques that Adam Gase wasn't using him correctly as a running back or a receiver. Le'Veon Bell has put up paltry numbers since signing with the Jets, and he was cut 19 months into his 4-year contract. Now, it was just announced that Le'Veon Bell will be signing as a free agent with the Kansas City Chiefs. So, the circuitous route that Le'Veon Bell has taken from being an all-pro running back with the Pittsburgh Steelers to joining the Kansas City Chiefs a couple of years later. What does this mean for Le'Veon Bell, and what can he bring to the Kansas City Chiefs as the defending champions?
I'm actually excited for Le'Veon on this one because I think one of the main things I was concerned about is usually when you hop from team to team like that, there's a stigma that, oh, the problem must definitely be you. I don't think anybody who's rational would think that when you think about the Jets and you know how dysfunctional that organization is. But nonetheless, you are the common denominator in that situation. So it's easy for people to put that on you. But I'm actually really excited for Le'Veon. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs is a perfect place for him to be. Patrick Mahomes tweeted out, one of them gifts that was like, hey, he kind of sees him and whatnot. And I think that their rookie over there, what's his name, Clyde?
Oh, yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's had a good season, but he has struggled at the goal line, and that's something.
But I think that's something that a veteran can really help him with. I think having, I actually wanted Le'Veon to come to the Saints because I thought he would be a good, we have that 1-2 running back punch, and we already talked about Le'Veon's ability to catch. So I thought he would be a good fit for us. And now I think that the Chiefs have now increased their offensive weapons. I still think you can run the rookie and you can run Le'Veon. Just having Le'Veon in that system, even if Le'Veon is one of those typical guys that doesn't really want to teach the young guy because you don't want the young guy to come take your spot, I still think that seeing how he moves, seeing how he works is going to be very beneficial. And I think ultimately they'll work very well together as a tag team. So I think this is a perfect situation for him. And he's automatically a Super Bowl contender, whether or not that comes to fruition. But I think he did a long circle to get to right where he's supposed to be. So I think he should be elated about the situation.
A circuitous route indeed. However, I do have some qualms with Mr. Bell. When you're going on social media, even if it's warranted, when you're criticizing your head coach,
but he didn't though. He liked a comment.
Here's my caveat to that. In liking those tweets and agreeing with that statement, you're implicitly criticizing the coach. And keep in mind, and remember, during training camp, even in week 1, he was butting heads with Coach Gase because of his role within the offense. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, the Jets are not a very good football team, and they'll be in the running for the number 1 overall pick once the draft comes around. Mm-hmm. But when you're on social media, liking tweets suggesting that you should be traded, liking tweets that criticize a head coach, even if those criticisms are indeed warranted, and you're not producing at the level at which you previously
Well, why
did.
am I not producing at that level? See, I disagree, and but I'm one of those people. Like I don't mind. People always say don't burn your bridges. I keep gasoline and matches in my back pocket. I would burn it down. Like I don't care like that. So I don't follow into that narrative.
Well,
I
the
believe
reason why I say that is because eventually you're tolerable until you're replaceable. And with the Jets, unfortunately,
But who are you replacing though? You gonna keep this coach? What's their record right now?
Oh no, listen, they're 0-5. They are a bad football team. But when you look at it, but think about what that says. The Jets decided, you know what? We'll pay you your $6 million the $6 million that we owe you the rest of the season. We don't want to deal with the headache anymore. You're not making us better. You're not playing all that well. You've been injured. And last year you admitted to not being in shape and being complacent after receiving that 4-year, $52 million. Excuse me. After receiving, that 4-year, $52 million contract. When you put all of those things together, now again, Le'Veon Bell, it's not all on him. The Jets are a badly run franchise. They don't have many pieces. Sam Darnold hasn't taken nearly the leap the team thought he would. And they don't have a lot of
taking the exact leap I thought he would.
and they don't
and
they don't have the perimeter weapons to actually alleviate any pressure off of him. So yes, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things that have hampered Le'Veon Bell. But Le'Veon Bell hasn't exactly helped himself in this situation. So I'm hoping that he does get back to that Pittsburgh level of production. Now, granted, Kansas City's offensive line this year is not very good. They've struggled with pass protection, and Patrick Mahomes has been getting beaten up more than he has in the last few years. So we'll see how much he's able to help that offensive line, because Le'Veon Bell actually is a capable pass protector as well when it comes to blitz pickup.
Yeah.
Yes, I think as a receiver,
to perform in a situation where you're unhappy. As a person who has several jobs, I can speak of one specifically. Like I just don't. And there's times when I'm sitting there and I'm like, I know I'm not doing this job well. But but when you're constantly having an uphill battle, and when you do try to put in the work, and then it's not rewarded, or there's a hurdle placed in front of you, it's definitely mentally taxing to stay motivated. And you're in Jersey, and your coach is trash. There's a lot of, I mean, if we're going to give passes to people having mental collapses in the bubble, I think you got to give passes to people having mental collapses in Jersey with the Jets.
Well, there's a reason why the Jets will be picking highly in the draft again.
Right.
So, but the move itself.
You're assuming he'll carry that baggage with him to KC. That's what you're assuming?
No, I do think that this will be a fresh slate for Le'Veon. And I think he also knows, like, hey, this is a chance for me to resuscitate my career. Because let's face it, whether it's his fault or not, the situation with the Jets, we do look at Le'Veon Bell a bit differently now. We look at him. Well, many of us, we look at him as a washed-up running back who had his best years in Pittsburgh. I'm not going
to argue that. He definitely had his best years in Pittsburgh. But I don't think he has, I definitely think he has more. The situation with the New York Jets went exactly like I thought it would go. I didn't think he was going to have success there, because that franchise is not designed to be successful. So I think now you go in, and I don't want us to sleep on Andy Reid either, because he clearly has the ability to bring out the best in people.
I don't think there's a more creative offensive mind or creative play caller in the NFL than Andy Reid. Right. So yeah, Andy Reid is going to put him in situations to succeed. I mean,
I think Andy Reid will also call him out too. If he's not putting him in the system, I think Andy Reid will go to him and say, this is where you're failing. This is where I need you to step up so I can utilize you more. I think there'll be better lines of communication. I think Kansas City, just as a city, is better than where he was before. He's going in with this young quarterback who's fired up, who's happy, who's living his best life. All signs point to this being a more mentally stimulating, a mentally healthy situation.
So you think Kansas City will be a career refresh for Le'Veon Bell?
I think it's a career refresh. I think it's going to be a physical refresh. He's going to be more mentally and physically on it. I think all around it's a better look for him. And I think we're going to see a Le'Veon Bell that now we're all going to go, oh, okay, I forgot how good he was.
Right, he's going to remind us how good he is. Hey, you know, and I don't totally disagree with. Now he probably won't put up the same numbers because Kansas City has so many weapons to spread the ball to. Obviously, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sam.
But if Patrick keeps getting in trouble like this, he gonna have to hand it off or drop it off on that short pass. You know what I mean? So that's right in Le'Veon's wheelhouse. So,
and Le'Veon Bell, people forget when he was a Pittsburgh Steeler, could line up at the X, could line up at the slot, could run every route. Hey, Andy Reid has another toy to play with. We'll see how much he helps that offense.
I'm excited for him.